So welcome to the version 8 physical inventory webinar. We're going to go over all aspects of the physical inventory. The first thing that you need to do when you're getting ready to start the physical inventory is make sure that your workstation preferences are set so it recognizes the scanner that you're using. Now, if you rent the JANMs from us, we will need to make sure that you have an install appointment with a tech or even a trainer. There is certain software that has to be loaded in order for the JANMs to be recognized. So with the PTs, there's nothing special that needs to be loaded. All we need to do is set up the workstation preferences. So to do that, you're going to go to Options and then to WS Preferences. I'm working off a demo copy, so all my quantities have to be reset. Sorry, I didn't do this before the webinar. I didn't even think about resetting my quantities at this point. Okay, so once Workstation Preferences is open, you're going to click on the plus next to Peripherals and then highlight Portable Barcode. Now mine is set up for a PT, but if you were using a JANM or a Palm unit, you would want to use the Palm option in here for either one of those. Same thing is true if you're using the Dolphin. So I'm going to leave it on RPro PT. The memory size I'm going to set to 512. Typically, the only thing that you might need to change in here, if you always use PTs, is the serial port. We need to tell the computer what communication port you actually plugged in the download cable. Now, with the PTs, there's 3 pieces that come with the PT. The actual PT box, the scanner gun that connects up to the top, and then you should have 1 or 2 download cables in the box. We typically send 2 just in case one of the download cables doesn't work. So that's the reason that we send 2. Now, once you've chosen which COM port it's actually connected to, go ahead and save this. And the first thing that I always do is I always test the communication between the computer and the scanner itself. I'm sorry, I should probably back up a minute here. If you're renting the JANM, you should get 2 pieces for each unit that you rent. You'll get the little Palm type of unit, little Palm Pilot type of unit, and there's going to be a cradle for each one of those units. It's extremely important that when you get those from us, that you plug the cradles into a power source and get those scanners on top of those cradles. We send them to you fully juiced up, but depending on how long it takes to get to you, some of the battery life, the internal battery life, might have drained off. So we want to make sure that those have a full battery before you start using them. So keep them, if you own your own, you probably already know, keep them plugged into a power source at all times. Now, you can move them from the power source over to the computer area when you're ready to do the physical inventory and just plug them into a power source there. The cradle needs to be plugged into power. So once you have your unit set up, either the PT or the JANM, I typically go into a new receipt to test my download. Now, I usually will take the scanner and get into the enter data mode on the PT or the Smart Scan on the JANM, and I will scan a couple of items. It does not matter what they are, just as long as they're Retail Pro items. And then once I have that, I'll go into a new receipt, and if you do not already have it on the side menu, add a new button for what we need, and the button you're looking for is the barcode button. So we want to put a little check mark there and then click OK. That adds in that button. And so with the PT, plug in the download cable into the bottom of it, click barcode, and then click the F1, the F4, F2, F1, which we'll talk about in a little bit. that will send the data from the PT over to the receipt. If you're using the Palm, you're going to click on the barcode and then click the OK button and then press the hot sync button that's on the cradle. That's then going to send the information from the scanner over to the receipt, and you should see the items that you scan show up here on the bottom, down where the items go on the receipt. I do not have a scanner hooked up to my computer today, but that's typically what would happen, is it would download those items into the receipt, and that kind of verifies that they are communicating with each other. And that's important to find out now rather than later. Okay? Once you've gotten a test and you know that they're communicating with each other, just simply back out of the receipt area and you'll be back on regular Retail Pro. So let's talk a little bit about the different scanners. Now, hang on real quick. I see somebody's got a question here. Yes, Christy, we have started. Let me double check myself. I thought I had started it, but maybe not. Yeah, no, I'm recording and I've got it on show my screen. Can you still not hear me? Did you dial into the phone number, the 1631? Press 1. Okay. Hang on real quick here. Stop.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, I apologize, Christy. That was totally my fault. Can you hear me better now? Okay, so let me go ahead and minimize that. I hope that's better. Okay, so let me go over that again. Since you weren't hearing me, it's not going to do you any good just to see my mouse moving around. First thing you need to do, and you've probably done this before, is set up your computer that you're going to download to, set up the workstation preferences. So you go into workstation preferences, then go to peripherals, highlight portable barcode, set it for either the RPro PT or the Palm, depending on what you're using. If you're using the PT, you will need to set these other two marks here. If you're using the Palm, there's really nothing else that you need to add here. And then obviously go ahead and save it. Okay, once I have the scanner hooked up, then I go into POS and receipts and I do a test download. So I scan the items a few times and I scan a few items in there, and then I do go through the download process. So if you do not have a barcode button over here, if you're using Regis for inventory, the only thing you really need to do for Regis is to have them contact us a few weeks before you're doing your physical inventory so we can give them the right formatting for their scanners. Okay? Other than that, that's really the only thing that you need to do for Regis. They'll come in and do most everything else for you. You know, they'll label your sections, they'll scan those sections, and then they'll give you a disk. When all is said and done, they'll give you the file. Sometimes on a flash drive, sometimes on a CD. It just depends on, you know, what they're using at the time. But definitely have them contact. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I would still have Regis give us a call just to make sure that they deal with hundreds and hundreds of customers every year. Your formatting, they may not keep it from inventory to inventory, I don't know, but it wouldn't hurt to have them contact us either via email or a phone call and have the techs give them the right formatting for their scanners. I'd rather have them call and nothing need to be done than they get there and find out that, you know, you get the disk from them and find out that it's not in the right format. So, okay, good questions. Okay, so once I've tested the download, Once I've tested the download in a receipt, now we're ready to actually go over what some of the functions of the scanner unit are. Okay? Now the PT, which is just a good old workhorse, it's been going for years and years and years, works beautifully. It's not the latest technology, but it does work very well. You always want to make sure that you are on the enter data screen. So with the PT, there are 4 function keys, or F keys, along the top. And the F4 key is your escape key. So if you'll press when you first turn it on, if F1 says enter data, then go ahead and press F1 and you're ready to start scanning. If it does not say enter data, press F4 until it does say F1 enter data, and then press F1. Now, once you're on that enter data screen, you're ready to start scanning. Okay? So now on the PT, like I had mentioned, there are 4 function keys. The F4 key is your escape key. F2 allows you to change the quantity. So you scan an item and you realize that there's a whole unopened case behind it. So you scan the one item, you see that there's a case behind it. That case has 24 in it, plus the one that you scan. So you could press F2 and change the quantity to 25. Then move on to the next item and scan the next item, and so on and so on. Okay, so F2 changes your quantity. F1 is going to allow you to find the item if you're not sure if you've already scanned it or not. So typically when you're scanning the items, down at the bottom of the PT screen, it's going to say last entry. And that's showing you the last entry that you scanned in. If you press the F1 key, that changes to say find item. Now you can scan or hand enter in the item you're looking for. If it finds it, it'll take you directly to where that item is, and you can see the quantity. If it doesn't find it, briefly on the screen it's going to say item not found, and then it's going to kick you back to the last entry screen. It assumes that if you didn't find it, you must need to enter it in, and so it puts you back into the proper screen to scan it in. So that is a good way of, because the item not found message only stays on the screen for a few seconds, if you look at the screen and it says find item, you should be looking at the item. And if it says last entry, it didn't find the item and it's waiting for you to scan it. Now you may have realized that I said there were 4 buttons and I've only touched on 3. The last button is the F3 key. And that button will delete a line item out of the file that you are creating. Every time you load up the scanner, it is creating a file, and then that file gets downloaded into the computer. So F3 allows you to delete an item. Now, if it is the last entry that you want to delete, you only need to press F3 twice. If you need to delete an item that you scan maybe 3 or 4 back, you'll want to use F1 to find the item, and once you have the item up on the screen, then press F3 twice. The first time is to let it know that you're deleting it. The second time is to confirm that you really do want to delete it. Understand that if you choose to delete it, it is out of that file and no longer accessible. Okay? Now, when you're downloading, you've just scanned your last entry and or the last item in that file, and so you're still on the last entry screen when you bring it back to download it. You're going to press the F4 key to escape out, and you should have send data as your F2 option. If it is your F2 option, press F2, and that should give you an option of start send as your F1 option. So go ahead and press F1. So if you just got through scanning a section and you connected up to the download cable, you're going to press F4, F2, F1 in that order to download the file. But the important thing to remember is start send is what actually is going to send that file. Okay? Now with the JANM or the dolphins or the palms, any of that type, from the main screen you're going to go into Smart Scan. And that's going to take you into a screen that has like a grid up near the top. One column is the item number UPC ALU. The other column is the quantity. So as you scan items, you will see this grid start to fill in. And when you have about 7 or 8 items, it's then going to provide a scroll bar because it can only show you about 7 or 8 items on the screen at any one time. So you do have the same kind of functionality with the JANM as you do the PT. You can scan an item and then change the quantity by touching the quantity button. That will change the quantity of that item. Just make sure, because it does pop up a little 10 key, make sure that after you've typed in the quantity that you press the enter key after you entered in the number. The same is true with the PT, and I should have mentioned that as well. If you need to delete an item, you find the right item, you'll notice that there is a great big X on the screen. You're going to click on the X, and then it's going to have you confirm that you really do, in fact, want to delete this item. If you need to do a manual entry, you'll also notice that there is a manual button on the screen. Touch the manual button, and it will bring up a 10 key, and you can manually type in an item number, UPC, or whatever. Okay? Now, when you get ready to download that, there's really no keystrokes that you need to do. You just need to make sure that the JANM or the scanner is firmly in the cradle. You should feel a good solid click when you have it in place. Although it will wiggle a little, it does not wiggle very much. And then you would press the hot sync button that's going to be on the cradle. Okay. 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 Okay, Christy, go ahead and run to the restroom. I can pause this. You're the only one. I'll go ahead and pause it. Just let me know when you're back. And I haven't been changing the screen because I don't have any scanner hooked up to it, and you couldn't see it even if we did. So just let me know when you're back. Recording again. So Christy, I'm going to go ahead and take you off mute. Any questions about the PT or the JANM unit? I know you're having Regis come in, but in those off times that you may end up renting a scanner to do a cycle count or something like that, any questions about how they work, how they function?
No, we've used the PTs before, and they're pretty easy.
Yeah, me too. And personally, I like the PT because it is easy, and it just keeps it's just a good little piece of equipment. So. Okay, so moving on, what we're going to do is now we'll go over the PI tool itself. We've talked about prepping for it, testing the scanner, making sure you know how the scanners work. Let's talk about the physical inventory tool. So in tools, now Christy, for you, you'll probably want to make sure, and I think it's down here, maybe not. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of here. Couldn't remember if the mapping was set up in preferences or directly in the PI, and it is in the PI.
Okay.
So we're going to go to Tools and More.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let me just open this up again that way. Okay. And then we're going to go to the RPro PI and open that up. Now it is a separate window, so it does take a second or two to open up. Now, if you have not done the download on this computer before, or if you just want to double check your settings, you can go into Options and WS Preferences here in the physical inventory. Highlight the printing and make sure that you set the printing area for the zone files, and then you can default which printer you want it to print to and which design you want it to print. We typically recommend an 8.5 by 11 printer. And then if we do have a BHD zone report that we recommend that you use, and if you don't have that as an option, just give us a call and we can email it over to you. Once that's set up, I'm going to check the preview box, click OK, then go in and check your system preferences under there. You want to make sure that you're set for use zones, and this is actually where you would set up your import file map, Christy. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll click on New. In the name field, we put in something like that. So your item number, UPC or ALU, is going to begin with character 1, going to character 6, or I should say 7. And nope, we want it to be 6. Okay, that's how I can double check. So the length of that is 6 characters long. Your item numbers in Retail Pro are never going to be more than 6 characters long, ever. Your count then would begin on character 7. Maybe you take that to character 10. Okay. Your zone name, maybe we make that character 11, going to character 16. So it's 6 digits long. And if you're going to use your ALU, we will check this box right here, and we will put in how long your ALU is. And it can go up to 20 characters. So this is important to get set up prior to the physical inventory. Go ahead, Christy. Go ahead and just ask me your question.
Oh, okay. So when they're doing the scanning, we're going to be asking them to scan the UPC first, and then the RPro code tag if the UPC doesn't work for some reason. So is the setup still going to be, I'm assuming, the same?
No, yours is going to be a little different because your UPCs are going to be 1 to 13 characters, and then that means that your count would start with 14.
Okay, sorry. So if they already set this up like this in the computer that I do the downloads on, should it still be set up the same way?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you shouldn't have to mess with this if you've had Regis come in before.
Okay, yeah, I'll just double check that. But
yeah, it never hurts to double check and know in your own mind that it's done.
Yeah, yeah, and it was good to show the printing. So we're going to be installing a new printer on the computer I do downloads on next week. So
okay, good. Okay, so once this is all set up, then just click OK here, and it saves those changes.
Okay.
Now, if you were going to be doing your physical inventory yourself, at this point, we would, before you get ready to do your physical, if you're doing it yourself, we do recommend that you draw a map of your store. We want your store sectioned off into smaller cross sections. Now, that could be a shelf unit, that could be, a table. I would venture to guess, I've never been in your store, but I would venture to guess that you probably have aisles of merchandise on them. One side of an aisle would be a good section. The opposite side of that aisle would be another good section. Or, your end caps on that one aisle, both ends of it could be another section. So you kind of use your best judgment.
I usually recommend when they're tagged. Yeah, I usually follow them around when they're zoning, so I can break it smaller if I want to, or whatever. Exactly,
and we usually recommend 100, 150 items or an hour of scanning, whichever happens to come first. Some items you can just zip through and get a whole shelf unit done in an hour, but if I'm little tiny stuff that I've got to pick up, turn, twist to get to the barcode, sometimes can take a little longer. So, but that is generally what we recommend. Okay, so now once you have your map, you're going the day of the physical. You're going to go into physical up on top, and then stores at the very beginning. And the same is true for you when Regis gives you your file. You're going to, and I would not recommend that you do this until after they give you the file. That way you get any last-minute sales that you might have had or any last-minute receivings or anything as part of that starting number.
Yeah, we usually close for our inventory, so.
Oh, good. God, yeah. I wish I could, in fact, I was going to say, I wish I could record you saying that, but I am recording you saying that, so.
It's just so much easier.
Yeah, it's more accurate too. And if you're going to go to all the trouble to count, don't you want to get the most accurate count that you can? And people just don't seem to understand that even if you have to do it after hours, it's still better to to be closed or not to be helping customers.
Yeah.
So you are going to come in now. When they hand you the flash drive that they give you, you'll come in and click on New, and you'll choose your store, and then click OK. And what that's doing is it's taking a snapshot of where your quantities are as of that very moment. As of 10:30 in the morning, these were the quantities that I had on hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once you've started your physical, you're going to back out of here, and you're going to go into zones. Now, for you, you're really only going to make one zone, and that's going to be the zone that's on the flash drive. Depending on some Regis companies will give you 4 or 5 zones, some will give you one great big zone.
We'll have
really
one
up to how you like it.
Yeah, and then we actually do some hand counts on our own, like we have bulk herbs that we count ourselves, and so I'll be hand keying stuff in and bulk body, that kind of thing.
Perfect.
So,
yeah, you've been through this a time or two, so just a time or two.
We're hiring somebody else to do it.
So, well, the good news is that this will be recorded, so you can just kind of play, here, watch this and listen to this, and then ask me if you have any questions. So, but for every zone that you're going to download, you're going to create a new zone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do unfortunately have to choose the store each time, and that's primarily because you're a main location, and technically, a main can do a physical for a remote location. So that's the main reason that you choose your store. If you had a second or third store, they wouldn't have that same situation. They would automatically be on their store.
Right.
Okay? Now, your zones can be labeled anything that you want, but you are limited to 5 characters. I cannot make them any longer than 5.
Mm-hmm.
They can be alpha, they can be numeric, or they can be both. So if you want to do A1, not a problem. The note field is an optional field. You do not have to use it if you don't want to, but the note field does come in handy to put what types of items were in that section or who counted that section, especially for your manually entered items. It would be helpful to know who went out and manually did the count that they brought back to you. Okay? Once you have that in there, click OK. Now for you, we're just going to, when Regis gives you the file, let's say that this A1 zone is that big file that they give you, you're going to basically click on this button right here and tell it where to find that file.
Okay.
So you basically point it to the path of your flash drive.
Okay.
And I don't have a flash drive plugged in right now, but that's what you would point it to. And then you would highlight the file that they give you. It's probably this one down here, actually.
Okay.
And then click Open.
Okay.
Once you've clicked Open, you would then click on, and you see the path in there, you would then click on the Import File button.
Okay.
That's going to take all the data from the flash drive and drop it into this zone.
Okay.
So that's how you're going to do for the ones with Regis. If you were using the portable scanners, you would go to Portable Terminal, and you would, if it was a PT, you'd go F4, F2, F1 to download it. On the Janum, you'd put it in the cradle, you press the hot sync button. For the manual entries, you'll obviously use this manual entry tab. Now, I always point out if your manual entries, if all the quantities of them are 1, which for your bulk items is going to be rare if they're all 1, but if they were, leave it on next item. But if your quantities are all over the place, which I would expect that your bulk items to be, I recommend that you change it to quantity for current item. Right. That way it will allow you to key in the item number and allow you to key in the quantity as well. And of course I don't have that item. So let me see what inventory I do have. Okay. I never know what I have in my inventory. Okay. Okay, so I can put that item on there, and everything is above the line right now, and we don't need that. So, Lots of fields. There we go. Okay, that's the one I want to see. I like to see the item number and the scan quantity right next to each other because especially with a manual entry, it's difficult to put in an item number that is not in the system, but that does not mean that you can't make a mistake.
Right.
So if you meant to type in 245 and you accidentally got 246, whoops, wrong spot. You accidentally got 246, it would let it go through because there really is an item 246. It's not what you intended though. So by putting these two fields together, when I'm all done keying them in, most of the time I'll go back and I'll double check that I didn't typo anything wrong. You know, it's very easy to get your fingers tangled up or to transpose numbers or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's why I put these two fields together, because you're probably going to enter the item number rather than the UPC.
Right.
Okay. So once you have all of the items in there, go ahead and close it. Now, I would probably recommend for you, you could do one great big zone for your bulk items, but depending on how much you have, you may find it's a little more manageable to break it up into a couple of zones. Okay, so you'll notice the zone is in here. I have no errors, so if you choose to, you can go to the scan quantity, and you can actually get a printout of what was in that section. And that's what that BHD zone report is. Shows the item that you scanned, the quantity that you put in there, and a brief description of it. Okay? It is not a requirement, but it does give you an audit trail, and especially with the hand-keyed in items or any errors that you have to fix and key in, I do generally recommend it, at least for the errors that you find. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, once you've seen what's in there, just use the Retail Pro button in the corner, and you're back to your zone list. Now, typically, I merge my zones as I go because I like to see that little blue dot show up because it's a very visible way of letting me know it's error-free. I've got my printout. I don't need to worry about it anymore. Mm-hmm. So I tend to merge as I go, although you do not have to. You can merge at the very end if you want. Okay, but I like to see that blue dot there. That way, in the list, anything that does not have a blue dot needs my attention. Right. Okay. So now, if you have an error, and sometimes it does happen with Regis that they give you this file and they've scanned thousands of items, it's not uncommon to have a dozen or so errors in there. And you will know that there are errors because instead of a blue dot, you'll have a red dot. Yeah, and you'll also see something in the bad scans column. So if you have a red dot, go over here to errors, and it will show you the items that you scanned around the bad item. But even more importantly, the bad item is going to be the item that does not have any item information on it at all. The only thing that you will have will be a scan quantity and an import ID. The import ID is the number that the scanner actually read. It could have been an ISBN, it could have been a manufacturer barcode, but it wasn't a UPC or an item number. It doesn't recognize that item. So then you need to go back out and try to find that item based on the items that are listed around it. Should give you a rough idea of what section of the store it was in. But somebody needs to physically find that item so we can fix the import ID. Now, if they bring that item back and you look at it and you see exactly what they did wrong and you know exactly how to fix it, you can edit this import ID number and then save it, and it will revert it from whatever originally was there with the real true item number or UPC. If you don't know what the item is, or you see what barcode they scanned but you don't see any other barcode that they could have scanned, obviously you're going to need to go into regular inventory and try to search for that item just like you would if any other item had lost a tag. You know, use search, use filter, whatever you find works better for you. So when you find that item number, what I usually do for the items that come up as a bad scan that I don't know how to fix right this very moment, I'll take a Post-it note and I will write the quantity on there. That way I can delete this item out of this error area. I found it, I just need to investigate it. So once I have the Post-it note on there with the quantity, I set it aside on a table so while everybody's out scanning or doing their thing, I can be looking for that item in the inventory. Okay? So now when you get into the inventory and you actually find the item, what I recommend is that you write the item number on that same Post-it, take the Post-it off the item, now the item can go back to the shelf. I know the item number, I know the quantity, I can now create a new zone and manually key all of that in.
Right.
Okay? Now, you, when all is said and done, especially because you're having Regis come in, you may, you know, have 7, 8, maybe even 10 zones when you're all done. Make sure they all have a blue dot, because if there's no blue dot, they will not be part of the updated numbers.
Right.
So it's absolutely critical that you don't see anything in here without this blue dot. Now, once you're at that point where everything has been counted, everything has been fixed, everything is, you know, the entire store is done, and thankfully it's over for another year, you are now ready to back out of here and go back into the store area. I always tell people, think about the stores as the beginning and the end of your physical. You go in there to start it, you're going to go in there again to finish it. So once you're back into the store, you'll see all of the counts that you have counted, grand total for the store, and you are now ready to look at your discrepancy report. Now, keep in mind, this is a discrepancy, so the only items that you're going to see on this list are going to be items where there was a difference between the starting quantity and what got scanned or entered in. So don't let it throw you if all of a sudden you see that you're missing a size medium or a size large, or you're missing a certain item that you know that you have in the system. That's good news if you don't see it. Okay? We hope not to see it is really what we're going for. Now, you can, obviously, if you find an item that needs to be counted, then you need to go back out and look for that item everywhere in the store, the back room, the drawers, anywhere where you may just have inventory, and recount it. If you recount it and you find that, you know, you did find some, you can edit the store physical inventory. So maybe I went out and I actually found 9 of those 10. Now that's still a discrepancy, but at least it's not as bad. My quantities got reset to 10 for everything, so everything that I counted is in here wrong. But know that you can edit this store physical column. I never realized how much I appreciated being able to edit this until we went to version 9. And in version 9, you cannot edit this store physical column. You have to start a whole new zone. Yes, it's a wonderful thing. You have to start a whole new zone to put your discrepancy finds in. You also
do that.
That and your error screen works differently too. There's a resolve button in version 9, and it basically, by clicking on resolve, it deletes all of your errors all at once. So, and there's no way to edit the import ID in that screen. So you, again, have to make a whole new zone just to fix those. So it's just a little getting used to. So yeah, I really do miss the ability to edit this column and to fix my errors right there on the screen.
I love that function.
I do too. I do too. So just to kind of fair warn you, you know, that will be a difference once you guys decide to move up to version 9. There's a lot of really good reasons to move to 9, but that's one of those reasons that is not quite so good.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so I'm sorry, I have to have my description too on my screens. So once you have found as much as you're going to take the time to find on your discrepancies, we don't usually recommend that you spend any longer than a week at the very tops, looking for your discrepancies. We do periodically get calls, and we find out that somebody started a physical a month ago, and they just finished wrapping up their discrepancies. Well, an entire month has passed. So much has changed that when we update your numbers, you went out and found the discrepancies, but if those items sold in the meantime, you're going to have even bigger discrepancies. So, you know, that's why we say try to get it wrapped up within the first week. Now, when you're at that point where you're like, okay, these are as good as the numbers are going to get, let's just finish it up and move on, you're going to back out of the discrepancy area and you're going to go to update. Now, once you go into update, if you want our help with this, we are more than happy to help you do this, but know that you can do this on your own as long as you know what settings to choose. You are going to choose your store and then click Next. That's going to bring you to this window. This choice here is probably the most important choice that you make, and it is the most commonly made mistake in updating. The developer in their infinite wisdom made the default setting the most unused setting. If I only update items that I physically counted, and I have an item that shows I have 4 on hand of it, if I didn't physically count it, it's because I don't have it. So I really need that quantity to go to 0 instead of staying at 4, but because I didn't physically count it, nothing's going to happen with it.
Right.
So you need to make sure that you choose the all items option. If I didn't count it, that means I need a 0 there. If I did count it, put whatever count I counted.
Right.
So all items is critical, then go ahead and choose Next. It's then going to ask you for a reason, and I'm just going to type in here PI. Okay, you should have a reason of physical or physical inventory in your list. Just click Next. Then obviously you would click Finish, and it brings up a filter. I always recommend clear the filter just in case, and then click OK. At that point, it will then update your inventory.
Okay.
So I'm going from all 10s to all 0s, basically. When it's all done, it'll let you know that it's all done. Okay, and that is the physical inventory.
Okay.
So any questions about any of that or how it's going to work with Regis or anything?
No, I think it's because this will be our 3rd year with Regis, so we'll just wait to hear back a couple of details about the scheduling and stuff that we've done with the manager there. But, yeah, and then also anything else, because I know we're installing a new printer on Monday or Tuesday, and if I see any challenges with that, I'll probably be giving you guys a call. But
okay, no problem. None whatsoever. Well, good. Well, I appreciate you joining me today. Otherwise, I would have been very lonely in here. So I
feel like we're the only ones doing anymore.
Well, the other person that signed up actually was a version 9 customer, so I was not surprised that she didn't show up. So so this will be up on YouTube. I'm the one that posts all the webinars up there. This will probably be up there later on today. So if you want to revert back to it, you're more than welcome to watch it as many times as you'd like.
All righty.
Okay. Well, thank you again, and join us anytime. We love having you on our webinars.
All right. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.